Dun, 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 dun. Sorry, usually there's an intro before that whole thing. So.
I'm sorry, do you want there to be an intro?
Well, I always do an intro for the whole.
Wait, we have intros for podcasts?
Yeah. Did you not know that?
No.
Have you not listened to it?
Not
it's just the music intro.
Not since you've taken over, no.
Yeah, it's the music intro. And
okay.
it's just like. Yeah. Anyways, I guess we just started it, so welcome back to another BlubHub Babbles. I am your host and our co-host.
I don't know when I lost my position as host.
Yeah. Hayden Williams and Stone Wolf Gaming.
How come you got introduced by your real name?
I don't know why I said it, but Stone Wolf Gaming and Mitt. So yeah. First of all, how are you doing? We have to introduce. We have to say, how are we doing?
I don't know. How are you doing, Hannah?
I hurt. I'm tired.
Why's your body hurt? Picked up a new hobby recently?
Yeah, it's called a job.
How's that going for you?
It hurts. I working too hard than I should have. Yeah, you can turn that off.
I mean, I was going to.
Yeah. But I'm working too hard than I should be, even though people are like, oh, that's considered as extra work.
I mean, do you care if I say, like, what you do for, like...
Let's just say that today was Taco Tuesday.
There we go. Okay. Wait, we've already said... I don't know what's been said and what hasn't been said on this channel anymore.
I got me some good-ass water.
Yeah, and I was cracking open a can of water.
Yeah.
It literally just tastes like tap water.
It is, probably. It's
like
spring tap water.
It says mountain water.
Oh, does it?
Yeah, it says mountain water. But when I tasted it, when I bought me a can, expecting to have this can make me transcend, ascend, and, I don't know, descend at the same time. Like, I sipped it, expecting to crisp, beautiful, purified water that's going to be like, oh no, amazing sweat from a wonderful Greek goddess or something like that. No, it was just...
I think you're explaining the word bang. No, okay.
But instead, all I got was tap water in a can. That costs more than just a regular bottle of water.
$1.79, but $2 or $2.50 for two. If you want to buy a pack of these, a 12 pack.
Either way, if you go to On Q, 79 cents bottle of water there. Tastes better.
You could buy a whole pack of these for $36.
God damn.
Yeah, yeah. And they're a lot bigger cans too, so it's...
That's just a giant can of tap water. I can go turn on your sink right now and get
you can actually sign your name in blood and you can get a free year of cans if you do that.
If you sign your name in blood?
Mm-hmm.
On what?
On their piece of paper that they send you and stuff. I think it's like a free year.
How do they know it's your blood?
As long as they get someone's blood, then you're good to go.
Like, I'm just saying, what if you used, like, fake blood that you get out from, like, a Halloween section?
I think they actually test it.
Okay, but what if you go and get, like, a package of, like, ground beef?
You could, I guess. I mean, if you want to. But
I'm just saying, like, this, I feel like there's some ways to cheat this. So you have to
You
have
can
like...
find ways to cheat it, or you can actually have fun with it and prick yourself.
Why would you want to?
Because it's fun, man.
Alright, new BlubHub idea. Halo sells his soul to this company.
Oh, hell yeah. I would do that. On to other news. This video...
There's other news?
Yeah, this podcast is sponsored by...
We're not sponsored.
Oh, I'm sponsoring this myself.
Yeah, but I don't think you can sponsor it and then be in it.
Sure can. It's like, But I'm going to sponsor with Hate of St. Prime Plus Squared for tomorrow's video that we're going to be doing. So you don't have to do a thing.
Yes, I do.
Well, just have to be there. But yes, I will take care of it all, baby.
Man, you're broke.
Not so broke, you and I. But anyways, yeah. Is there anything else? Are you good? How's your day?
I mean, what's the other news aside from the news that's been had?
Me and you are going on a trip.
Our favorite rocket ship.
Yes. So
soaring through the sky.
It's also
Maybe
my birthday
like
on Saturday.
Like oh yeah. Happy
Which will
birthday.
be on the day of this podcast.
So when this video comes out, closer to death.
Yeah, so it's going to be my birthday.
A year closer to middle age, to crippling depression.
Don't stop talking.
You know,
you're bringing me down, man. Bring this vibe down.
But you're closer to your midlife crisis.
Man, I already had a midlife crisis when I was 20. I had a quarter life crisis.
Well, depends on how long you live, really, that determines your midlife crisis. So you can technically have another.
Great. I can't wait to look forward for that. Next BlubHub video. You just see me.
Well, if you really want to get freaky, due to the average age being 77, everyone assumes their midlife crisis should be like when they're 50, but instead it actually is like closer to like 35.
I think that just happens earlier and earlier because the day and age of how people and how stress comes about.
No, like we're living longer, but I'm just saying your midlife crisis, the middle of your life isn't when you're 40s. You're actually tipping closer to the dead end.
Imagine when the, the 1600s or the 16th century,
living to 30, you have your midlife at 15.
You're like at 15, you're like, yeah, exactly. You're like, oh my god.
That's why they were out getting married and whatnot at like 10.
Exactly like that.
Imagine being like, wow, when's grandma gonna die? She's only 33.
Oh man.
Like, damn, you realize we would be like grandfathers by now? We'd be failures.
Mm-hmm. We'll be... Oh.
Hey,
yep.
Hey, look, you little horny doggy.
Just wanted to pet you.
Now's not the time to fuck. Now is the time to entertain the people.
Wow, fucking... No, kidding.
That's a different channel.
Alright, so... With all that in mind, I figured that this would be a pretty good topic because it just came out of the blue. You have Snapchat, right?
Yes.
And you know how Snapchat has stories and everything of most major companies. I say major companies, but,
I use Snapchat to talk to like 2 friends.
Well, if you scroll over to the right, there's this thing called Stories, I guess you'd say. But you play a lot of indie games on your channel.
I do play a lot of indie games, yeah.
You play, I would say you play a lot more, because I started off playing indie games on my channel called Indie Monday and stuff. Oh man, she's hiking up on that pillow.
She's making her move.
Right. But
Hano's dog is horny right now.
Yeah, she's in heat, and she'd be like trying to horn dog everywhere.
And she's like really depressed because she doesn't have a boyfriend.
Yeah.
It's alright.
I'm sorry, Zoe. We should get you fixed, I know. I don't want to get you fixed either because it's your rights, and I don't want to infringe on your rights.
She just looks really sad, and
I
she
know.
also looks like she might start humping that pillow the second we look away from her.
Right.
But either way,
Yeah. We both play a lot of indie games. So this just randomly popped up. You know the company IGN.
yes, I do.
They're a reputable company. They are mediocre at best, in my opinion.
At worst.
I used to be a big fan when I watched their weekend or their daily fixes and stuff, and watching all the news and stuff, because I was really into that. Now it kind of changed into more of a, that's a different topic. But I randomly ran across their article that it says, opinion, indie has lost all meaning. I'm going to just read this article and we'll discuss it. He said, indie now accompanies so many different sides of types of games, we now need to change the way to use the term, by Dan Pierce. At this year's E3, outside of Microsoft and Nintendo's presence, a handful of showstoppers and third-party of big AAA games took a backseat to the games outside of the high price bracket. However, the way these games were packaged, they made me feel uneasy. Like, this year, E3 made me feel like a definition of both AAA games and indie games are becoming more and more opaque. Opaque or opaque?
I think opaque is
AAA is being more compressed into fewer numbers and mega budget titles. The term indie feels more like it's being stretched and encompass and everything else. I don't want to define indie in explicit terms, but what I do want is to pose it as that many approaching the point where indie is no longer a practical term on its own, and it might be the time to recess and how we talk about these games. What does indie even mean? The closest thing to universal consensus is, indie when you see it. This means that even though the definition is loose and labeled, that you can still be practical and use it in context.
No, it's not the time to.
Much in the current language around the indie games to form the early 2010s and the indie boom during the start of the decade was the influx of commercial games by teams of 1 and 5 people. Super Meat Boy, Fez, Thomas Was Alone, and the name to few. This was happening all in the back of many seem to be regarded as something that's the cultural low point in the mainstream video games, where gray, broken shooters and saturated AAA space. So what does indie mean in 2021? Depending on who you ask, indie games could be made by an inch by scrappy team of 1 to 2 newbies who could also be a game with a $500 million plus budget team with 15 to 20 industry veterans and a major platform support. I don't believe better financed developers accept the label, but the faith that anyone's coasting on it. Every developer I've met worked hard with indie meaning so many things different. I can understand why some on the team of 15 to 30 people, developers, reasonably feel like they are. But I believe the label has been oversaturated, and there's also developers who would prefer the market of their own games outside of it, due to the scope of the tone of their projects. It is difficult to be on the 1 and 5 person team when looking at Hades, almost a 20-person team on Hellblade, AAA plus motion capture experience team, or 12-minute star-stud cast, and seeing indie in their most popular Steam games.
God damn, you really are going to read this whole damn article, aren't you?
It's legit, like 10. It's all in small bits. I think I'm almost done, actually. Yeah, that's the last one. I do not want to stress that this the only issue becomes because games are more diverse, creative, ambitious, but they are ever more than. More developers are making games in various scopes and styles perspective than ever before. And that was it for the article.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was about to pull out a pillow.
You really hate a lot of reading, don't you?
No, I just read a lot faster.
Yeah, I should have let you read it.
Well, I don't read out loud fast, but
Oh.
I can read very fast in my mind.
Yeah. So, what I found interesting we were both alive during the whole indie boom in 2010. Unless you were born in 2010, then I don't think you were.
I age excessively fast. I'm 3 years old.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I was there. I was alive.
Because I do remember Super Meat Boy and Fez, and then I remember a documentary about the word indie and everything else.
Okay, so I feel like I have to ask you this question. I feel like we both need to answer this question. To you, what is an what would you consider an indie developer? Like, what are your qualifications for it to be indie?
Well, what I feel the qualifications for an indie, obviously, yeah, a small team. Obviously, it's their own creative mind. But at the same time, I don't know, it's really hard to explain because, because we're both independent in our own creativity as well. And we're both pretty independent as well. But it's really tough because, like, I don't know, like small and creative, I guess you'd say. Because there is some creative things that you won't see. And I do agree a little bit with this article, but I don't agree fully 100%.
Gotcha. Alright, so for me, indie games, because I do play a lot, and I do try on my channel to specifically avoid any games that look outside of the indie feel for me. But I think my biggest thing that stops me from playing some games that are labeled indie is publisher. Who published the game? Not just who made the game, but who's backing it. Who's pushing it out there. Because, I mean, for me, it's like if like a 3-man team makes a game, but then Valve is selling it.
Yeah.
Then, to me, I was like, then it gets the title because, it was backed now by a large publisher. So that's
how Portal was made, because it was the original game for Portal was I think Arbacula Drop.
I mean, there's a lot of different things,
Yeah.
but
that's how like CS:GO and everything.
CS:GO was a mod that became a game, and it was it was a mod for Half-Life that became Counter-Strike 1.6, Source, Counter-Strike Global
Team
Offensive, Team Fortress, and that's where I'm going. I think my big holdup is always who's publishing it. Are they putting it out themselves? Do they have a publisher? Is the publisher well known? Is it a big main, like, is EA publishing it, or is it just them pushing it out?
Yeah.
Or is it their own companies all together, or a small publish? Because there's different layers. But I would say my big thing for indie games really has to be like for us, we're not big by any means. We're indie. We work very small. We put a lot of our own work. At most, you edit a video of mine, I'll edit a video of yours. We're not a big team. So I think my biggest holdup is I don't see I really can't consider it an indie game once you pass like the 20 developer mark.
That's true, yeah.
Or like go to like Game Dev Tycoon. Like I say, like where you're at in that game. You're in the garage. You're an indie developer. The second you get there, you've kind of gotten like more mainstream, more up. You have your own large company with people working for you.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I mean, I agree to most of that point. I'm also happy that I would say that most indie games are being developed or published by major game companies, because it is cool, but at the same time, because I remember when that whole boom did happen.
I have a question for you then. I think this will really determine it. Henry Stickmin, is it an indie game or is it a AAA game?
I think it became a AAA game.
But is it an indie game? Like right now, you can go buy the bundle of all the games together.
I think it started out as an indie game, but then it became a prominent because
I was just wondering what you considered it. I have friends that refer to that, say that whole game, start to finish, and I mean like every game, not just like the newest one.
Yeah.
Like all of them, they say that every single one is an indie game. It's an indie game series.
Yeah.
But I kind of am on with you where I'm going. It became a AAA game and started off as an indie game.
Yeah, like what was that game? Outlast.
Yep, that's
Red Barrels. was an indie developer, but he was an ex.
Yeah.
But then he also had the notoriety of.
I will also say this, because I just thought of it. I think another thing that really determines like what a game is also kind of has to do with how popular it is.
Yeah.
Because, there's some games that just take off in popularity to, like, match AAA games, but indie developers, so...
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of factors you gotta take into consideration when you're calling something indie or not.
I do, like I said, I do agree with the whole, you're kind of pushing it, like, to be, it is indie, but at the same time, you're pushing all these developers. I would say they were indie to a point, but now that you have signed, like, kind of have that whole publishing situation, but at the same time, I feel like as long as they give them creative control, I feel like the word indie now is like not independent, but more of like, I have now control of what my IP is, and they're just helping me.
I think the biggest thing I can think of that kind of goes from like indie to mainstream to like AAA to me. This is Digital Extremes, the creators of Warframe. Huge thing Warframe is now, but they were a little branch off. Digital Extremes, like Warframe was a labor of love, passion. It's to me it started off as an indie MMO, and now it's one of the most popular MMOs, if not like the current most popular MMO there is.
Yeah, I love hearing their story about how they started off asking other publishers like, "Hey, can you help me?" Yeah. And then they're like, "Well, fine, we'll just do it ourselves." Yeah. And then now then all the publishers are asking them. Do it myself. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, and then all the publishers are like, "Hey."
I'm a big fan of Warframe, everyone. Which I'm also not going to like completely leave out that I know that they've apparently been in some drama with like a couple of like people that were like really big in their community, blah blah blah.
Oh, for real?
Yeah. But I never got too big into like what all the drama was. But I know there was stuff, so I'm sorry if it's like offensive to be like a fan of Digital Extremes. But if everyone's still cool with being a fan of Digital Extremes, I'm a fan.
I'm gonna say I mean, it looks cool. I mean, Now that they introduced those new updates and stuff, I'm able to get my character and shit. So
yeah, the new crossplay. But this isn't going to be me ranting about Warframe, because I will do it. If you let me go down that path, we will go down that path.
We could talk about Warframe in a different video.
But
my love letter to Warframe.
Then there's other games, because there's games that like reached Valve and got on Steam and things like that definitely not mainstream at all.
And I mean, I feel like the most prominent thing that considered as indie, and that kind of was considered indie, but then it kind of made it into his. I don't know if you ever played Shovel Knight.
Yes.
I haven't played Shovel Knight, but there was like so much hype about it, and so like
I really feel like this is like a blurred topic here.
It is. I mean, it's like what is like it. That's why I chose it, because like what is considered indie, what is like it's really hard.
Yeah.
Because like it is like I said, I kind of agree with him and I kind of don't agree with him, because like
I will say this though, while it's difficult to determine what's indie, I still think it's very easy to determine what's AAA.
Yeah. You could definitely see what's a real indie game and then what I guess you'd say what's a real triple indie game developer.
Yeah.
I
feel like we need a third stage. There needs to be three, because I feel like you have like the games I play on my channel, which are usually like
yours is straight up indie.
Yeah. It's like at most I think there was like one game I played that had like 5 developers working on it together, which was quite a bit. But that's why I was like, I feel like you have that, which I would say are more like the small YouTubers. They're us. The people with like no subscribers, pretty much. They're barely a blip on the map. No offense to them, love their stuff. It's like I think we put out great content, but just smaller. That's just how it is. But then you have the middle class, just like you have YouTubers. You got like the top of the line. You got your Jacksepticeye, PewDiePie, Markiplier, Captain Sparkles. All of these people with like over 10 million subscribers.
Yeah.
But then you got like a little lower where you have like some, but then you got that middle class of like the people that I'd say range between like 200 to like 500,000 subscribers. Where they're popular. No one can deny they're popular.
Yeah.
But
nobody ever heard of them though.
Yeah. It's like I can mention like Good Boulder Fist. has over like 300,000 subscribers. He's popular.
Yeah.
But you have no idea who I'm talking about.
Nope.
Exactly.
Like two best friends play.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, a lot of these people are all like in the same connection group. Like Good Boulderfist, friends with Ethos Lab, Seth Bling. They were a big name when it came to like the Minecraft YouTube area when Minecraft was getting big on YouTube.
Yeah.
Did stuff with Captain Sparkles. He actually, like, he's one of the people that created the ultra hardcore that's really popular.
Yeah.
On, like, that took off. It's actually him and his, like, group of people on the server that created ultra hardcore and did that as a competitive thing just for them, and it blew up.
Right.
So we still see the impact, but it's that middle ground. And I feel like, just like you can't call those a small YouTuber and you can't call them a big YouTuber, I feel like there needs to be the same thing. You have the same issue here with your video games. You got the small indie developers.
I guess you can consider it like how celebrities are. There's A-listers, B-listers, C-listers, and
which
D-listers.
I mean, I guess kind of like a Social Blade, if you know what that is. Everyone, it's a way of YouTubers just kind of keeping track of where they stand. And you're given like a rank if you look up yourself. Oh, you're C, you're B, you're A plus, and I think it goes up to S.
Yeah.
Well, me and Hanel are. I think you're a C plus, and I'm just a C.
Yeah.
And then you have Razzle at like a D. Just throwing that out there. No. So yeah, it makes sense for YouTubers too.
Yeah.
But I think what we're honestly missing is a middle ground.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to like figure out like what would you even call like that middle ground?
I don't know. Like, and yeah.
And then I guess you get to the issue of at what point do they stop being indie and do they become that? What point do they go from that to A-list or
AAA? Yeah. The more that we talk about it, the more I'm kind of agreeing with this whole article.
Because it does blur, and it does, which was a big issue because I didn't always do indie games on my channel. You can go and check and see that. That's been a fairly new thing, but it's something that I always wanted to get into, and I actually had to leave Steam. I used a different website to try and find indie games because, well, on Steam you get spammed with games that are in that middle ground.
Yeah, and it's called Steam Greenlit, or Greenlight, right?
Yeah. And it's like this weird area where I'm like, I found Tyrania there. Mm-hmm. That is definitely an indie game through and through. Mm-hmm. Small developer, small group. But I was lucky to find that on Steam. I probably wouldn't have found it, elsewhere, but still. I think
we should see if we can interview that creator.
Leviathan Animations.
Yeah. Maybe get a perspective.
Yeah, I could probably message and see if we can get him on the podcast, or at least maybe a little snippet, just a little tidbit of information on their thoughts.
Yeah, about what makes an indie
also
game.
Leviathan Animation. I don't know if you're a guy or a girl, and we just keep referring to you as a he. So if you're not a he, apologies. If you're not a her, if you're a they, them, attack helicopter, gummy bear, Cubone, just let me know. Yeah, I saw the Cubone, okay. But seriously. LeBron James head.
Yeah.
Because nothing.
Yeah, because that is something that
I don't feel like we are like in a very good area to have a good perspective on what is or isn't indie.
Because when I did watch that documentary, because what their main goal was like, I wanted to make a game for myself, pretty much, or make a game that nobody else was making.
Which makes sense.
Which most of those indie developers were like, if they're not going to make the game that I want to play, might as well make it myself.
Yeah, the class, like I always say, the Thanos, then I'll do it myself.
Yeah, and but also a good example. I don't know if you're familiar with Fez.
I do know what Fez is. I actually watched a streamer that played through Fez.
The creator, Phil Fish. But he legit, fame kind of got to him. throughout that whole situation, because it was a really big game.
It
It's innovative.
Yeah,
it was really
it was all over the place there
that
for a while.
legit. Like it was kind of like how Fez 2 was going to lead off exactly where they left off, and and then he just kind of went crazy over, and he said, "All right, Fez 2 is canceled."
I mean, it's hard. Like, that's one thing me and you have even talked about, because we put in all this work to hope to grow as YouTubers and become more popular, but we're always going, what if one night we wake up and we are?
Yeah.
I think that's the thing that, happens to a lot of celebrities. You see them happen with kids that all of a sudden get a spot on, like, a big TV Disney show, and then they lose it, because all fame is difficult.
Yeah.
And I would like to say I could handle it okay, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I might lose it. I might go
Because it's going to be legit like a tip-top roller coaster.
Yeah.
Straight down, so. But, yeah. This is, but yeah, I mean, about 4 indies. We should definitely message him and do like a part 2 of this.
Yeah.
But, yeah, because when I read his article or saw, because
there's definitely going to be a part 2 to this podcast, with hopefully either someone joining in on Discord or at least another perspective on the subject,
or at least maybe an interview, or at least something like that. Because that does, because it is hard, especially for us who are not in the game development stage. I mean, you're certified in Unity, but that's as far as you got.
Well, technically, I had made a game. I just never put it out there. It was a 3D platformer, and I did pretty good. I got through like making 5 levels of it. The plan was actually to publish it at one point, but I just got lazy and just trashed it. But I never really got big into the scene. I knew a couple of people that were wanting to go big with game
I was wanting to
development.
make my own game, but I was seeing what I needed to do, and I was like, oh. And then
This dog, man.
Yeah, she'd be super horny. But, I mean, I saw what the makings of it, you have to
hard,
animate,
man.
you have to do all that stuff, and I was like, damn, okay, maybe I shouldn't go into this, because...
I mean, it's why I stopped, is I wanted to go into it. It sounded fun. I started it and realized...
Like, I was legit
crap.
trying to buy software that you can buy, like RPG Maker, and I was like, oh, how much is that,
Okay, RPG Maker, that's fun to play around with.
Well,
I'm not good at it. I'm not good at it at all.
Yeah.
But that is still a goal of mine, and I've thought about making that a series on my channel, is actually trying to make an RPG Maker game.
Yeah, sounds fun.
Yeah. Absolute hell. It's going to be like 500 parts to get through chapter 1. Rezel's made a few games on RPG Maker.
That's cool.
Yeah, he's never put them out, as far as I know. But he's put a lot of work into them.
Yeah, because it is a lot of work, and like I said, I respect indie games.
Sometimes you play an RPG Maker game and you don't even realize it's an RPG Maker game until like what?
Yeah.
You start realizing like there's some assets or things like that you're like, oh, this is RPG Maker. Same thing with like Unity and things like that. Gmod, Half-Life stuff. You're like, oh, I forgot this was a Half-Life game until I saw that red barrel.
Right. Like, thank goodness for Gmod too, because they also had. People could make their own games and wild fantasies out of that too. But
Valve did good for the indie developers.
Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, it's just it boggles my mind of what this whole what is indie and what is considered not, and like I said, he kind of did it in a nice perspective way, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't want to be 100% sure to agree.
Yeah,
but.
I do agree and I don't agree.
Yeah.
Because the line is blurry, but you know when you know.
Yeah.
You really do.
Yeah.
You see something and you're going, that's AAA.
Right.
And you see something and you go, that's indie.
Right.
You can just look at it and tell.
Right.
Because, now I'm trying to think about, because there's 2 visual novels I'm quite a big fan of. One being Tyrania, of course. And the other one was called Katawa Shoujo. which got huge. It was a big thing on the internet there for a while. I don't know if you know what that is, but it is a dating sim.
Nice.
Which I had started on my channel, did not finish. I had a plan where I was going to go through, because there's 5 routes, 5 different girls, and I was going to get 5 of my friends and make them go through a different route each.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so that was the plan. Haven't gotten back to it. Might be a while before we get to that.
What was that one game that you played that, for some reason, Deponia is coming in my head, but it's not Deponia, but it was like kind of blocky, but you had it on your channel, but you had the whole series on
Dark Side Detective?
No, not Dark Side Detective, but I think that's an indie game too as well. Alright?
I believe so.
Let me see if I can look it up real fast. Hold on.
Oh no, blockiness. Oh no. On my own channel, and I don't know what videos I have. Oh, I'm a failure of a YouTuber. Speaking of videos on channels, I looked up to see how many videos I've uploaded on YouTube. I have 220 something, and Hannah has well over 700, so you've got me beat out pretty hard right now. Like, are we talking about one of my indie games, or is it...
Game Dev Tycoon. No, yeah, I think it was a series, though. Oh, Jazz Punk.
Jazz Punk. Love that game.
Wasn't that an indie game?
I believe so, but actually I think that one might actually be... Yeah, I don't know. That's one of those things where I never really got into the, like, story of how that game was made or anything.
Because I know there's some, like, indie games that are, like, really impressive that has no backing. And
I mean, and apparently the publisher was Adult Swim, so...
Oh, okay.
Came out on Microsoft, Mac, and PlayStation 4.
Adult Swim does do a lot of indie scenes.
They do.
They do help out a lot of independent musical artists as well.
Directors, artists. There's actually not too... Like, it's definitely indie.
Yeah.
I would consider this indie. I know there's probably someone out there that's going, that's not an indie game, but it's not a long list of writers, directors, and developers.
Yeah. Because I know Adult Swim actually does some cool shit. Yeah. Especially for, helping independent creators and stuff. Like they had a...
Jazz Punk, great game, great series. I highly advise watching it on my channel. A little older now, but still holding up. Still a good game. Maybe a little ear rapey, but that's all good. We've improved since then.
Yes.
I would say Stone Wolf Productions, but it's just me. Unlike Hano, I don't claim to be a whole group of people.
I am a family. I eat for a family, so I am a production crew.
That's why I always laughed when Hano was like, in his description, he was like, we have a lot of things going. I'm like, bro, it's just you, buddy.
It's just me doing all the work.
I was like, it's just you, bud.
If I eat a family-sized potato chips, then I am a whole crew.
Maybe I am a family.
Maybe I am a family, yeah. Definitely.
I forgot about that meme.
Yep. So.
But yeah.
But I do want to explore this though more. So
this is gonna be a deeper thing. We are gonna start a series of trying to find a definition to what truly is an indie game. What is the border between indie and not indie? And the whole reason I brought up those 2 visual novels is because one actually has like a bigger team with it. Kadowa Shoujo, bigger, you can tell there's a lot more polished.
Yeah.
But it's still an indie game. It's one of those things where it's like I almost want to say now it's not an indie game because I feel like it's one of the better known visual novels.
Yeah.
I don't know. It really is a hard line.
Yes.
By a hard line, I mean a very smooth, blurry, like, I mean, you can barely see it. Like Hano, if he takes off his glasses.
Very jazzy and very punkish. No kidding.
Exactly. I feel like we've made no progress in during this podcast. Like, we started off so certain about our beliefs.
Yeah, and then we started talking about it, and
we made ourselves question everything we believed about indie games.
Right.
I know. If I find it on Newgrounds or on, I don't know how to say it. I always want to say itch.io. Like the website that I use for things.
Oh,
yeah.
right.
If I find it on there, then it's indie.
Yeah.
Everywhere else, it's AAA.
AAA.
Sorry, Tyrania, you're AAA now.
But yes, we're gonna definitely tag the person.
Yeah, I'm gonna message them on Twitter and just see if.
And it will. I mean, we'll definitely have to send this video and tag them onto this and see if they are willing to give us an interview about it. And
like I said, it doesn't even have to be like a live interview. It doesn't even have to be, but at least like a little. Nothing else, just type out a message to kind of get input, because I might actually message a couple of the developers of like games I've played for and just kind of see their perspective on what's indie and what's not.
Yeah.
Because I know they probably all consider themselves indie developers.
Yeah. And but yeah, I feel like that would be. I say that's the end of the podcast. I mean.
Oh wow, you're ending it already this early?
Well, I mean, unless you got something else you want to talk about.
I don't know. I thought you might have had more.
Well, I thought this was going to be a conversation like last time, but
no, we've just confused ourselves.
Yeah, we just got ourselves stuck into a wall now.
So go ahead and let us know in the comments. What do you guys think makes an indie game?
Yeah, I'm curious to know.
Is it the amount of people that made the game, the amount of money that went into making the game?
And is it still considered indie when a publisher helps out?
Yeah, like if someone